Welcome to Money Talks. I'm Cathy Yang, your intel on the Philippine markets and the economy. In the headlines, Philippine stocks start the week at their lowest in more than 5 years, while the peso nears its weakest in history at 59 to the dollar. Market watchers expect further slippage due to former Congressman Zaldico's successive statements. The outrage against corruption carries on from the pulpits to the streets. The 3-day protest rally of the Iglesia ni Cristo enters its second day as the Archdiocese of Manila appeals to the public to stay loyal to the Constitution. We have live reports on ground from our mobile journalist Jazz Paredes at Quirino Grandstand in Manila and Ray Vicente at the EDSA People Power Monument. And parsing through the economic cost of corruption, Sarah Tan, economist at Moody's Analytics, joins us live from Singapore. Philippine stocks start the week at their lowest in more than 5 years, while the peso nears its weakest in history at 59 to the dollar. Market watchers expect further slippage due to former Congressman Zaldico's successive statements. RCBC chief economist Mike Ricafort expects some market volatility in the stock market and the peso. Apart from Co's series of allegations, the anti-corruption INC rally could also lead to some cautiousness. On top of these, he says the upcoming second trillion peso march on the November 30th could continue to keep investors on a wait and see. As for Jasper Matthew Bailon, analyst of First Resources Management and Securities, he's expecting the market to move with a downward bias due to the current political turmoil. Last Friday's PSEI closed below the 5,600 level, revealing fear keeping investors sidelined. From the pulpit to the streets, the outrage over government corruption continues. The public renews its calls for transparency and accountability as Co's series of allegations against President Marcos, former House Speaker Martin Romualdez, and other political personalities inflame public anger. Philstock's Financial's Jafet Tantiangco sees 5,400 as the PSEI's next support if it is unable to get back above 5,600. The peso is likely to weaken further, while long-term U.S. Treasury yields are likely to decline on increased demand for havens. Unicapital Securities analyst Peter Luis Garnace adds investors are likely to stay risk-off this week as political uncertainty persists, though some bargain hunting may emerge with the market entering oversold territory. The Manila LGU reports over 650,000 members of Iglesia ni Cristo trooped to Quirino Grandstand for the first day of the rally for transparency and better democracy. INC members will stay at the grandstand until tomorrow, Tuesday, as they call for transparency and accountability amid the flood control scandal. INC officials hit back at claims that the religious sect, which endorsed President Marcos in the 2022 elections, is plotting to overthrow the government.
Napakalinaw po ang walang batayang pagpaparatang at pagdadawit sa iglesia sa kung ano-ano ay isang coordinated diversionary tactic. Hindi po natin layunin na pabagsakin ang gobyerno bilang institusyon, kundi ano po layunin natin? Palakasin ito sa pamamagitan ng katapatan at accountability o pananagutan.
Hindi tayo sang-ayon sa revolusyon. Hindi tayo sang-ayon sa revolutionary government. Hindi tayo sang-ayon sa kudeta. Hindi tayo sang-ayon sa snap election. Hindi tayo sang-ayon sa paglalagay ng civilian military junta. Ang gusto natin, lahat ng solusyon, lahat ng hakbang dapat sumunod sa paraang legal at payapa.
At the People Power Monument, retired generals, religious groups, and members of PDP Laban called on Marcos to take decisive steps following the revelations of resigned lawmaker Zaldico. The United People's Initiative, which organized the event, has secured a permit to extend its rally today. Meanwhile, pro-Duterte group staged a separate rally at Liwasang Bonifacio. Ahead of the rallies, Manila Archbishop Jose Cardinal Advincula warned the public against resorting to extra-constitutional means, saying their loyalty should be to our democratic principles, not any political figure. He also appealed to the police and military to stay faithful to their oath. Interior Secretary John Vic Rimulya says the lessons of the September 21 mayhem strengthened PNP security measures for Sunday's protests. The president monitored the rally in Malacanang. Palace Press Officer Claire Castro, meantime, says too many propagandists are spreading false info about the anti-corruption probe.
Di nila ipinapaliwanag kung gaano karaming dokumento ang dapat basahin dyan. Gaano karaming tao ang dapat na imbestigahan dyan. Ang isang proyekto, hindi isang tao. Ang problema kasi maraming propagandista na gusto talagang ito ang isentro na ang bagal-bagal ng Pangulo, ang bagal-bagal ng gobyerno. 3 months pa lang, ang dami na nasampahan na kaso eh.
Let's now get an update on the second day of the Iglesia ni Cristo rally in Manila, live at the Quirino Grandstand. We have our mobile journalist, Jazz Paredes. So magandang umaga, Jazz. Has the program started there for a second day?
Cathy, gandang alas 9 ng umaga kanina ay nagsimula ng programa ng Day 2 ng Peaceful Rally dito sa Quirino Grandstand sa Maynila. Sa ngayon ay mga pupunang kantahan ng drama dito. Ngunit maasahan daw na bandang alas 3 pa ng hapon magsisimula yung pinaka-main program nitong Peaceful Rally. Sa ngayon, kung kahapon ay meron tayong 650,000 ng estimate ng mga katao na dumalo. Ngunit sa ngayon ay wala pang final na estimate kung gaano karami na yung dumalo ngayon. Pero kanina, in-acknowledge sa programa yung pagdating ng kanilang mga kaanib mula sa norte at ang ilan naman mga nakausap din natin na galing pa sa Bicol Region na tumalaw ngayong araw para sa rally. Ang ilan sa kanila nag-leave pa sa kanilang mga trabaho para makiisa sa peaceful rally na gaganapin ngayong araw at hanggang bukas. Pero sa ngayon, makikita natin na puno na itong Quirino Grandstand ng mga rallyista. Ang ilan nga dito, simula kagabi pa nag-stay o naggawa ng kanilang mga tents at mga latag para dito na matulog at hanggang ngayon nga nakasaka pa rin yung mga tents nila dito dahil medyo paiba-iba yung panahon. Kanina bandang alas 6 ng umaga may bagyong pag-ulan at pag-ambon at kanina naman bandang alas 8 ng umaga ay bumuti na ang panahon at umaraw na at yan ay inaasahan nila na sana ay bumuti na ang panahon hanggang mamaya. At tayo naman sa NCRP ay PO kanina nag-release sila ng statement na naging maganda or peaceful yung rally for the first day at kanilang pinagpapasalaman nito sana nga daw hanggang magpatuloy ito hanggang ngayon at hanggang bukas ng kanilang 3-day rally, Cathy.
Okay, maraming salamat sa update. Yan ang ating mobile journalist, Jazz Paredes, live from the Quirino Grandstand. Let's head on over to Quezon City, where retired generals group United People's Initiative gears up for the second day of their protest. And for the updates, we have our mobile journalist Ray Vicente live at the EDSA People Power Monument. Magandang umaga, Ray. Kamusta na yan?
Magandang umaga, Cathy. Sa ngayon, wala pa talaga masyadong release na kahit isang nalista dito sa People Power Monument para sa araw ng protesta wala pa tayo nakikita pero nananatili naman kung kuskusan na preparasyon ng mga inaayos nila at maging lista ay inahanda na rin nila, no? Pero kahit wala pa talagang tao, ang sabi naman ng pulis ay mananatili raw ang mahigpit na seguridad dito sa People Power Monument. At kanina nga, Cathy, ay hindi talaga tayo nakapasok sa mismo gaganapin ang event o dito sa entablado kasi wala pa tayong event ID at paparating pa lang kasabay ng mga organizers. Pero kahit dyan ay naging maayos naman daw yung rally o peaceful rally kahapon.
Alright, mukhang maliwalas din ang panahon dyan. Ingat, mobile journalist Ray Vicente live from the EDSA People Power Monument. Recent protests are now being led by a new breed of voices, the Gen Z and the millennials, who've turned their frustrations into street-level pressure for accountability. And for retired General Ray Guerrero, who served as AFP chief at the height of the Duterte administration's drug war, this moment opens the door to a hard look back at a campaign where he admits far too many lives were lost. He reflects on his role then and how the calls for accountability then compare with the demands of today's youth. Here's an excerpt from our conversation on Thought Leaders. Looking back, would you have done anything differently as AFP chief, as the controversial war on drugs was gaining momentum, headlines, and negativism?
As I said, that as AAP chief, I really had no direct participation or involvement in the war of drugs. It is clear in my mandate that the mandate only involves providing supporting role to the Philippine National Police. I have been in government for many number of years. In all of those years, I realized that good governance was the key element that would really drive operational excellence and organizational excellence in any agency or any institution. In good governance, I realized that good governance cannot be achieved by one man alone. It had to be a collective effort, both with the supporters from within the organization and from outside the organization. It's really hard to put these people behind bars, put them in jail because not only because of due process, but because of the difficulty in providing hard evidence that would convict them.
So all the gains have been lost, you think?
I don't think so. They may have slid a little backwards, but it's easy for them to recover.
But when you have a public that's as vocal as the Gen Z, the millennials, taking it out there in the streets, what is your impression then of the kind of accountability that they're asking the government to deliver?
I think they have a right to say that, and they are correct in saying that, because really that's the purpose of government, to provide good governance, and I guess that it's about time that government wakes up.
Sa tingin nyo, sa inyong obserbasyon, ang patriotism ba ng kabataan ngayon ay naiiba sa patriotism na hinarap ninyo sa mga nagdaang taon?
From what I see on the streets, malayong malayo. Would you call yung protest nila as patriotism? Is that a sign of patriotism, love for country? Na, for me, sabi ko nga, alam mo, yung mga kabataan ngayon, hindi nila masosolve yung problema ng bansa. I have said this many times, even to my children, when they were studying, when they were still young. Sabi ko, do not worry about what is happening outside. Sabi ko, concentrate on your sphere of influence, on what you can do. You improve yourself. Because eventually, the country needs you. You have to be on good moral ground. You have to have a good moral standing. You have to set your moral compass straight for you to be able not only to succeed in your life, but also to be a responsible member of society.
We're watching Money Talks. Coming up, Sarah Tan of Moody's Analytics talks about the economic cost of corruption. Keep it here on One News. Welcome back to Money Talks. I'm Cathy Yang. U.S. equities ended a mixed bag Friday despite a rebound in mega cap tech stocks and the resumption of economic data releases. The Dow slid by 0.6% and the S&P 500 fell by less than 0.1%. The Nasdaq rose by 0.1%. The benchmark 10-year Treasury yields ticked up to 4.147%. Gold prices declined to $4,087 per ounce. U.S. futures are little changed in after-hours trading. The Dow falls by less than 0.1%, S&P 500 up by 0.25%, and the Nasdaq up by about 0.5%. As for the Asian markets, it opens the week on a mixed note. Australia's ASX 200 and Japan's Nikkei 225 both down by 0.2% and 0.4% respectively. And South Korea's Kospi is up by over 1%. And a quick check on our own markets here in the Philippines. PSEI opens this Monday higher by about 1%, 5,632. To recall, the local bourse plummeted to a 5-year low on Friday, falling by about 2.5% as the bombshell allegations of resigned lawmaker Zaldico against President Marcos rocked investor confidence. The broader all-shares index sank by over 4%, while all counters are in the red. Online brokerage 2Trade Asia says in a note that the stock market may continue to fall this week over persistent political turmoil and soft economic data. Let's take a look at the Philippine peso. It opened today a tad stronger, 59.055 against the dollar. The peso closed Friday a tad weaker at 59.065 against the greenback. Mike Ricafort of RCBC says seasonal remittance inflows and holiday spending may help temper pressure on the local currency. And the 10-year government bond yields ticked up to 5.883%. So what is the cost of government corruption on the Philippine economy? Our next guest had the most optimistic forecast in our Business World poll for third quarter GDP. She had it in at 5.9% year on year. 3Q came in at 4%, far worse than the lowest in the same poll. But with us now for more is Sarah Tan, economist at Moody's Analytics, live from Singapore. Welcome back to the program. Good to see you again, Sarah.
Hi, Katie. Nice to be back.
Right. None of those in the Business World poll got it spot on. Even the lowest at 4.3% was still 0.3 percentage points higher than the actual. And you were at the far end of that, the most optimistic. Where are you now then with fourth quarter GDP following the miss in 3Q?
Yeah, we were quite optimistic in Q3 growth because the conditions in the third quarter should have supported stronger domestic activity, such as things like low inflation and easing borrowing costs. But as you've seen, unfortunately, things turned the other way. As for the full year growth, all that downward revision led to about a 5.1% growth for the full 2025, and that's going to be below the government's growth target of 5.5 to 6.5%.
So if so, what sort of a target range then should the government revise down to?
Yeah, I think, the government has been slowly revising down their growth target range for over the past few, years. Before that, it was higher than the current range of 5.5 to 6.5. And I think, the rate around 5% will be more manageable for the country.
All right, let's get us up to speed then in the ASEAN, because this pretty much changes most things. When you look at the snapshot of third quarter results across ASEAN, and you cover the Asia Pacific as well, neighbors such as Vietnam and Indonesia in the uptrend. What are they doing right? What can you say about their kind of economic growth? Now that we've fallen fourth on the list that you see on screen, what can we do to get back again?
I think it's a little disappointing, right? Philippines was kind of on the front runner of this leaderboard. But really, the composition of the Philippine economy is such that we are very heavily dependent on the domestic economy. And so when things like controversies among, in the government happens, then that's going to weigh down business confidence, public confidence a lot. And really what the government should try to do is to increase that kind of confidence that was taken a hit in the third quarter with all the controversies that made them review their government spending again.
Well, we've got Christmas up ahead of us. I know that you wrote in your report that conditions could have supported stronger domestic activity, but as we've seen, it didn't. Could the Christmas
Yeah.
season bring that back to a point where we could be confident that maybe consumer spending is getting to recover?
Well, if you asked me this question before the Q3 GDP came out, I'll definitely say yes. But now I'm a bit cautiously optimistic that that will happen, right? Because all that holiday festive boost might be then dampened or have faded into the back view with the trumping of the poor government spending and poor appetite to, I guess, invest in the economy again.
I know it's an intangible really because it gets down to consumer trust, doesn't it? I mean,
Yeah.
take away the holiday spend and that seasonal rush. That's
Yeah.
what caused the slippage in third quarter GDP, the intangibles such as consumer trust
Mm-hmm.
and most importantly, investor confidence. So at
Yeah.
this stage, what kind of strategic interventions do you think the government may have to do to get back on in the game?
Yeah, I think that's a really tough question because I think there are just a few ways that perhaps the government can look into it. Right, first really is perhaps to rebuild that trust in people again. Right, we have the state of calamity now, and that could ideally accelerate the disbursement of support for areas that were affected. Perhaps speeding up public spending would then be a positive signal to both investors and consumers that things are moving again. Ensuring stronger transparency and accountability will also help to restore confidence. I think another thing that I want to mention is the agricultural sector. Right, the Philippines is very vulnerable to weather shocks, right? As you guys would know, and so targeted support for the sectors that were hit by the recent typhoons would then help to support and stabilize income and hopefully prevent another drag on the domestic demand.
Right, and at a point where we're under a state of calamity since November 7th, and that's something that you have yet to input in your latest report. How
Yeah.
do you think that might provide a sort of maybe a stabilizing effect? Because that state of calamity period is going to last until next year to account for
Yeah.
future typhoons and other calamities.
Yeah, indeed. So I think that's a lot of that we are watching is for implementation, right? The state of calamity can be announced, but whether the quick release of emergency funds, control prices of basic goods and the speeding up of relief and rehabilitation work, all that, whether that turns out into something that's implemented efficiently is something that we are still watching and then later bringing in to build into our forecasts.
Right, because it's difficult when you see those protests. It really
Yeah.
says a lot about that lack of trust that we just talked
Yep.
about. The street protests, they've carried on since September 21st, and the big one might happen on November 30th. And that presents to us an elevated political risk premium. That's keeping consumers from spending a big way again, and also the foreign and local investors funneling their money in here.
Indeed, yeah.
So what sort of an impact might that have in terms of maybe capital and in the way it goes in and out of the country? We're watching the stock market very closely, now hovering at lows we hadn't seen in more
Yeah.
than 5 years, and the peso at 59, just pulling a little bit back from its weakest in history.
Yeah, indeed. I think it's worrying in the sense that all these add on to the kind of already dampened confidence in the economy. It could cause an acceleration and pullback in investment, capital outflows. But as you mentioned, hopefully the state of calamity will kind of stabilize that a little bit to show the government's commitment to work towards, stabilizing what's happening in the country right now.
All right, final question. For the fourth quarter, would you be tipping for then, Sarah?
Yeah, I think we are around 5.2% for the fourth quarter. Yeah.
All right. Well, I hope the Dev is listening because they wanted to achieve the fives. And there you are at 5.2%. Thank you so much for the
let's hope.
update. All right.
Thank
Sarah
you.
Tan of Moody's Analytics live from Singapore. In corporate news, the Light Rail Manila Corp is gearing up for a financial rebound with fresh talks with the Transportation Department. And that is to rebalance its concession agreement amid challenges in the train line. Mobile journalist Amy Atienza has the report.
Amid issues encountered in the country's oldest rapid transit line, Light Rail Manila Corporation is looking forward to refinancing and rebalancing its concession, even collaborating and opening its doors for discussion with the Department of Transportation. Recently, LRT Line 1 has faced challenges in its fare price and the timeline of construction of its extension to Cavite area. In a press briefing held in Hong Kong on Thursday, LRMC President Enrico Benipayo acknowledged the frustration of Metro Pacific Investments Corporation Chairman Manny V. Pangilinan regarding these matters. MPIC is the largest shareholder of LRMC with a 35% approximate share in its holdings.
And the chairman's statements recently, at least as far as I'm concerned, was coming because although we have had some improvements in our negotiations with the government, probably it's not happening as fast as it should be. That's why he has expressed his probably frustration.
Benipayo is optimistic as the number of passengers in the train line has been increasing since it reached its low during the pandemic. He says problem stems from unfulfilled obligations for the government, yet looking forward, they seek to finish all proposed plans in due time.
Obviously, I cannot preempt the wisdom of the shareholders or of the chairman, but as far as LRMC is concerned, we will continue to improve the services. We're going to try to convince the chair to be a little bit more patient, give management a few more time to turn the corner, so to speak.
LRMC also assured that improvements on the quality of transport and the transit are being made through foreign partnerships. Kapatid Amy Atienza, we are One News.
And that is it for Money Talks. I'm Cathy Yang. Catch us again tomorrow, 9:30 a.m. here on One News. Kapatid, we are One News. All sides, all the time. Have a great day ahead.